Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and in today's video, I want to talk to you all about legendary characters. I want to talk to you about why it's pretty much pointless to really chase after any of them, with the selection, or with the exception of a few of them, and obviously the Horseman characters. Now, this might not come to a surprise to some players. This is a video largely designed for new and mid-game players. Some veterans obviously will already have all of these legendary characters, so it doesn't really bother them. But I kind of want to go over this from the perspective of my baby account, just to kind of share with you what I'm doing and what my thoughts are on each of the legendary characters and why you don't need to bother with them and my opinions on that. So, if you're ready to go, then let's boil this down. And to start, we're just going to be here in the legendary window of my baby account roster. And as you can see, so my account, just for people who don't follow my baby account very much, is about 70 days into the game now. And so I do have Iron Man unlocked at 3-star, and we're going to talk probably about the ones that I think are the most useless, and then we're going to go into the ones that are more useful. And so there is a total of 15 characters that are legendary as of now. There will be 16 with Red Hulk, of course. And we need to ask ourselves a very basic question. Why do we need legendary characters? And there's a couple. And some of the main ones, actually, is for when you get to higher level, when you get to about level 75, level 80, when you get to Dark Dimension 4, that you need them for the legendary lane. And so for Dark Dimension 4, you need 4 of them. And for Dark Dimension 5, you need 5 of them. So that means that inevitably you're going to need eventually at least 5 of these 15 or even 16, right? Because Red Hulk will be out probably about a month's time or so. And then after that, we'll have the Death Scourge. We're going to talk about that a bit more, about why those are probably the most important things. It's probably a no-brainer. But I want to kind of talk about some of the other ones and why you might use them, but you don't really need to focus on this. And that's kind of what I want to drive home right now, is that when you're coming up the way on levels, it's not a priority at all. There's like maybe 1 or 2 characters that you want to consider, and other than that, I really wouldn't bother. And a lot of the reasons is because of the requirements that you need to unlock them, the kind of characters that you need to shard farm for or build in order to get them unlocked. And it's honestly a waste of time. It's going away from the meta. It's wasting energy shard farming characters that you're not going to use, so on and so forth. So let's start with Starlord. So Starlord is a nowhere heist character. He's unlocked through Ravagers and Guardians. He's not super difficult to unlock, but the nowhere heist thing is super end game, to the point that like he's useless now. There's no point gearing him, and you need to take him pretty high up in order to actually do nowhere heist. You need like 5-star, 6-star, and 7-star, all the way up to gear tier 15 if you want to max it out. And that's just really not a priority. Starlord is not a resource priority whatsoever, and so just completely ignore this. You know, if you're done everything in the game and you want to go back to nowhere heist, that's fine. You know, and if you have nothing better to do, that's also fine. You know, but otherwise, don't even consider this. You don't need him right now. And that's just like the easiest way. We're going to skip on Rogue, because we're going to come back to that, because she's part of the Horseman characters. For Phoenix, again, she was moved down to a 5-star unlock from an original 6-star unlock. Uncanny X-Men is not a team that you should be focusing on. Uncanny is not a team that you should be building. And even only the most veteran of veteran whales probably even bothered with Magic. When she got released, I can tell you that I have not even touched Magic really that much on my main account. And so, as much as I would have liked to, it's just the resources aren't there, and it's not a priority, because that'll take away from stuff that you need to do. Mutant gear that really you should probably be putting into Unlimited X-Men where possible, if you have them unlocked and so on, because that's a much more important thing to do right now than to put it in these old characters. Phoenix was very good back in the day, though, with Dark Dimension 3, I'll admit. We're gonna skip Omega Red for just now, because as far as he's the most recent legendary character, or one of the most recent legendary characters aside from Morgan Le Fay, and so that's why I want to kind of leave talking about him until last, because I know this might be a little bit controversial. Jubilee could be a little bit controversial as well. You don't need her, and you might be thinking, Boilon, you're crazy, because Astonishing X-Men are part of the raid meta right now. Yes, they are currently, but that's for like endgame players who are running through Doom 3. I'm almost certain that there is a mutant raid team around the corner. I know I've been saying this for a couple of months, but I'm more than certain now that before the end of the year, of course, you're going to see this. And that might seem a bit far away, but if you're running Doom 1 or Doom 2, you can make a hybrid team with a handful of different characters. You can even use Unlimited X-Men and some other mutant characters to be able to get you through that as well. And so Jubilee, and the problem is to unlock Jubilee, you need Pym Tech. And I didn't even talk actually about Phoenix. So Phoenix unlock requirements, Villain, Mystic Controllers, which is really kind of weird too. Jubilee requires Pym Tech, and none of the Pym Tech characters are worth building at this stage. Even Ghost is not really that worth building anymore either. And so that's the problem with legendary characters now, is that either they're obsolete, or they require you to build and shard farm obsolete characters that are kind of useless at this stage. So I really don't think that Jubilee is worth it, and I don't think that you need to do it. If you're like under level 75, level 80 even, for your commander level, I probably wouldn't even bother much here because you probably don't need it. And by the time, in about a month or a couple of months' time, there's definitely going to be a replacement. I can guarantee you that. Moving on, we have Ebony Maw. This is the legendary, the first legendary within a legendary. So Ebony Maw required both Black Bolt, which required Asgardians, and then you needed the Inhumans for Ebony Maw. So this is like 10 plus characters that you need to build for just Ebony Maw. And great character, old great character, but no, just no. And I need to shorten some of these because it's just not worth it. Adam Warlock. Now, he's a bit of a newer one. Obviously part of that coveted Infinity Watch meta. Also not worth it. In a similar vein as Ebony Maw, I think it's just there's too many characters that you need to get Adam Warlock unlocked. So you need a Jubilee, which requires Pym Tech, and then you need X Factor. So that's, again, and you have to gear them, because Adam Warlock was the first what they call a Mythic Legendary, which required a certain gear tier. If that wasn't the case, you know, it might be a little bit easier because you could carry it with a couple of characters. But no, you have to gear tier them as well as star up to a certain degree to get him unlocked. And then it's just that I think while Infinity Watch is incredibly strong still, and they still hold up pretty well in terms of where you can use them, at least for counters, I just think it's too many characters that you need to build. He's Mystic, and it's just there's so many other better things to do. And that's like the biggest thing right now, is that there's so many better things to do with your gear and resources and gold that these characters just unfortunately fall behind. And so while that Adam Warlock was a June 2021 release, thereabouts, you know, it's just anything over a year old is really difficult to justify, I think, even now, because it's just, you really need to think about the here and now. Magneto, we're not even going to talk about that, waste of time. Black Bolt, also waste of time. Doc Ock, this is another interesting one. I do have a special soft spot for Doc Ock because he is tech and Sinister Six. He's also part of Nowhere Heist, but I think that you probably don't have to really worry about this either. He was lowered to a 4-star unlock. You can see 180 shards here, which is nice. Is it permanent yet? I don't know if it's, some of the events are permanent, some of them are not. I think it's, I can't always see everything. Invisible Woman also reduced to a 4-star unlock and is permanent, and that's nice too, as far as the Nowhere Heist trait goes. But again, so 3 legendaries as part of Nowhere Heist. You have Invisible Woman, you have Doc Ock, and you have Starlord. There's really no point to having them, you know, and so we need to talk about the ones that are worth having. And there's only, for newer players and mid-game players, there's really only a couple. Iron Man now, because of Bionic Avengers, and I have to say, Bionic Avengers are absolutely amazing. They're one of the best teams that I have geared up on my main account in some time. So Iron Man is something that I will continue to use on my baby account because I have I have 4 Bionic Avengers. I'm not unlocking Hulkbuster. That's unfortunate. But for what I need it for right now, which is not a lot, I don't need to have Hulkbuster, but Iron Man is still an important legendary. So you're going to want to build him regardless if you're a new player or a mid-game player or an end-game player. You probably should gear him up to a certain degree. Now, secondly, I want to talk about Shuri, because Shuri is Wakandan, but that means she's also using the Chaos Theory Flash event, which in my opinion is one of the best Flash events in the game, because you're getting promotion credits, and these promotion credits are very important, especially for like early and mid-game players, to help get your red stars up for the characters that are available if you have the yellow stars for them. So Shuri is still a pretty decent character. Her, I mean, you're not, because of Bionic Avengers, you're not using her in tech really as much anymore, but she's still a great character nonetheless, and you kind of have to build her. So I would kind of work on her. Now, she requires Spider-Verse character. Sinister Six is for Invisible Woman. Spider-Verse characters for Shuri, which is very easy to do because if you're working on Web Warriors, which a lot of them are available right now anyways, then this will be a quick unlock once you get them up to 5-star, and her event is permanently available, so that's good as well. And I forgot to mention that Iron Man, for those who don't remember, is for S.H.I.E.L.D. characters as well. I would focus on characters like Maria Hill as one of your main ones, and then just accumulate them as they kind of go around as far as which characters to use for him. Now, I want to give a special attention to Nick Fury and Omega Red before I actually go on to the Horseman characters, because Nick Fury is somewhat in Omega Red as an extension, so it's not so much Nick Fury. It's actually Omega Red, and you need Nick Fury to get to Omega Red. So it's not that I find Nick Fury particularly useful, in my opinion, unless we are forced to build him as part of the Apocalypse unlock, but we don't know about that yet. I normally work on getting Kree minions up pretty early on, because they're available very early on in the game. And so it's better just to shard farm those Kree minions early, so that you don't have to do it later. That way you can get Nick Fury unlocked, and then when you're ready to do Omega Red, you can do it. But I'm actually wondering whether or not Omega Red is slowly going to be falling off as well. He is a really great standalone character, but I'm thinking like in less than 6 months' time, is he someone that you would still recommend building for early and mid-game players? And my answer would be I'm not sure, because I think that as far as where you're going to be using him, I don't think the wider Weapon X team is as meta anymore. People were using Lady Deathstrike and Doomray Tech and Dark Dimension 4 and 5 and things like that. But now with the Bionic Avengers out as tech replacements, Lady Deathstrike is really kind of losing a lot of her utility, I guess you could say. Silver Samurai, not much use for him there either, and Wolverine and Sabretooth is a big hard pass. So what do you do with Omega Red now? And that's the biggest question, is that would you use him standalone? Maybe. But I don't know how much value there is there outside of, say, Dark Dimension 4 or 5 at this stage. So if you're not willing to build the wider team, which probably is not a good use of your mutant resources, especially for Silver Samurai, Wolverine, and Sabretooth, then Omega Red might slowly become a hard pass in the near future as well. So I kind of just want to raise that to your attention, because if Omega Red is kind of far from your thoughts right now, then he might not be anywhere in your thoughts later on, because he might not be worth even unlocking or building, you know, say in 4 months. It's really hard to say at this point, but I would be cautious about this. I am still doing Kree minions for Nick Fury for maybe a future Omega Red unlock, but really, outside of Iron Man and Shuri, Omega Red's really the only other person that needs to be on your radar really at all for any time, any newer or mid-game player at all. That's about it. So that's why I want to talk about the Horseman characters, because the Horsemen are going to be there's 4 of them. We know Morgan Le Fay, we know Rogue, and then Red Hulk is coming pretty soon, and then there's going to be a Death Scourge probably by about mid to late November. My opinion's there. So what's interesting about this is how fast they're coming back around, and I want to bring this up to your attention, because we're getting two runs of Pestilence before Rogue's second pass. And so we had Pestilence number 2 on the 27th of July, and we're getting this again on the 31st of August on Wednesday. So that's like a month between them. So does that tell us that once Rogue's second pass is coming, we're going to get a third one within a month? You know, which means that these events are going to be repeating very, very fast. Which means that all you need to do is think about is Horseman characters. And I'll be honest, I ran difficulty 2. And I got 40 shards for Morgan Le Fay, which means that if I can do some higher difficulties, maybe like difficulty 4 now, maybe I can, I don't know. And then I might be able to actually unlock Morgan Le Fay on her third pass on Wednesday. That would be really crazy if I was able to do that. And that's great for new accounts, because that means that after only about 3 months, that I'm able to unlock Morgan Le Fay. I don't even have any of her Darkhold members, but I might be able to get her unlocked. And even if I don't on this next pass, I know that it might be back around in a month or so time. So, you know, inevitably, I'm going to unlock these Horseman legendaries way faster than any of these other ones on my roster, which means that there's 0 point in actually focusing on anyone else. If it's not Iron Man, if it's not Shuri, I don't think you honestly need to care about the other ones, because by the time that you get to Dark Dimension 4 Legendary or 5 Legendary, you're going to have, if not all of the Horsemen, right? Morgan Le Fay, Rogue. Hopefully on Rogue's second pass, I'll also be able to accumulate maybe 40, maybe 50 shards, and that way on the third pass, as a new account, I'll be able to unlock her. So that's kind of my expectations going forward with the other legendaries, with Red Hulk, with Death, whoever that happens to be, that within 2 runs, I can probably unlock them, and definitely if not in 2, then in 3. But if they're coming back as frequently as they seem to be, then you don't need to worry about anyone else, because the main reasons why you typically want to have legendary characters is for Dark Dimension, and that's really about it. And so if you can wait, if you can just hold out a little bit longer, then you can wait for those other passes of these events, and then you'll get them, and they're way, way better than any other legendary that's available in the game right now. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Honestly, if I can get Morgan Le Fay on the next event on Wednesday, that's going to be absolutely insane, and I can't believe it. So there's a good chance I might, because if I have 40 out of 100 when I was like, I don't know, Commander level 50, then I think there's a good chance that I can unlock her on the next pass. So TLDR is that don't worry about any other legendary in the game. Focus primarily on Horseman characters. You do not need anyone else. You can skip 90% of the legendaries in this game because you don't need them at this stage because they're not important to you. So make sure you're focusing on what's in front of you. That's the most important thing to do in this game. And of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.